Hi, I'm Dr. Dan Ratner. As part of our Mind-Body Connection series, today we're going to focus on one of my signature concepts within the system I developed for my short-term consultations, power. I'll show you how to develop it and use it against your symptoms. If you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and comment as I go along with questions or any thoughts. I'm very excited to bring this video to you because it is one of those areas of mind-body work that is different in how I talk about it than how others do. So last week we talked on the Mind-Body Connection about doubt and its importance, and this is part of how I am different from other mind-body practitioners and of course people outside of mind-body work. I understood that doubt is very important to bring down to almost zero, if not absolutely zero, to get better from your symptoms. But another thing I found, and this was through my own work, is that you also have to come to feel powerful. To truly get through all of your symptoms, you have to be able to get to a place of feeling powerful. This is especially important when you hit a plateau, when you're trying to get better from symptoms and you just can't get it past a certain point. It could be a doubt issue, that's the other reason for plateaus, but I've also found that sometimes it is simply a relation to power. What do I mean by this? Power is about your relationship with yourself. It's about whether that relationship is going well or not. When it is going well, you feel powerful. You feel that you are competent. You feel confident. These are other names for power, and sometimes people want a different name. Sometimes people aren't comfortable with that word. They want to pick strength or confidence or competence or feeling at peace. These are ways that we can describe in a different way what it means to be powerful. It's all about whether your relationship with you is going well. But I will say this, power actually has three different areas that it operates in. There's your relationship with yourself, and that actually covers all three areas. But there's also your relationship with yourself when you are with others. Are you feeling powerful in relation to them, or do they feel like they have more power than you? There's also your relationship with your symptoms. Do you feel that you've got power over your symptoms? Chances are, if you're watching this video, you don't. And it makes perfect sense. I didn't for 8 long years of not understanding what was going on. And then I also did even after I discovered Sarno and the mind-body experience. There were times where I felt not powerful over my symptoms. This is a very important part of something that I would say about power. I say it about emotions, and I say it about doubt, and I also say it about the power column. All three of these parts of your mind-body experience ebb and flow. You are a changing being all the time. So one of the things you need to think about is, where do I stand in these different issues? If you're looking at the emotions column, is there an emotional theme that has flared up? Or are those tending to be pretty low? Has something gotten me to doubt when you're looking at the doubt column? Or have I gotten those pretty low? The third element is, am I feeling powerful? And at some moments you will be, and at some moments you won't be. I'm going to give you a great example of this. We actually tried to shoot this segment before, and I wasn't feeling powerful enough within myself. And I realized that because I'm used to this dynamic. I'm used to checking in with myself about, am I feeling powerful? And for some reason, I was feeling not as sure about things. And you can't fake it, so I had to think about why. I figured it out, and it's not a big deal. And it's because this is so important to me to convey to you well, because this is such an important part of things that I was putting too much pressure on myself. Once I realized that, I could say to myself, oh, no, I have something very good to say, and I'm going to say it many, many times, and it doesn't have to be all in this way. So I did exactly what I'm going to tell you to do. I checked in with myself about whether I was feeling powerful. So that's the first step. You want to recognize when you are out of power with yourself. And that can happen again in relation to you, in relation to other people, or in relation to your symptoms. You want to have this be a factor that you're looking at. And in the mind-body community, it's not being talked about. Actually, anywhere it's not being talked about. So it's another variable you need to be thinking about. Now, how do you recognize whether you are in power or not? Here's a very good metric for it. Being out of power doesn't feel good. being powerful does feel good. And I don't want to make it seem overly simple, because you can feel good for other reasons, not for feeling powerful. Maybe you're just feeling really connected, or somebody, that you hadn't seen in a long time, you're getting to see them, or you're having a fun time. These are other ways to feel good. But if you're not feeling good, one of the things to look in is, am I feeling powerful? As an example, not feeling powerful with yourself, how does that look? Well, it looks like self-attack. When you are attacking yourself, you are out of power with yourself. You are not your friend. When you're powerful, you are. When you're in relation to other people, not feeling powerful, generally speaking, you're thinking, well, I wonder what they're thinking about me, or they aren't thinking highly of me, or they're better than me. When we go to Facebook and we see all these different people and they say, oh, my life is so great, we actually are often diminishing our own power in relation to them without even realizing it. We're thinking they're better than we are. And I'm not saying to become arrogant and think you're better than they are, but you got to elevate yourself to at least equal with these people. And with respect to your symptoms, what does it look like to be out of power? Well, that's where doubt comes in. When you feel out of power with your symptoms, you feel that they're not going to get better. You feel that they have more control than you do, that there's no beating them. So let me talk a little bit about why power is such an issue. The fact is, we all have conflict about being powerful. Every single one of us. And why is this? It's because it comes from childhood. Everything comes from childhood. I hate to be too therapist-y about it, but it really is true. Our childhood experience is very important. And one of the things that happens in childhood is we are not powerful. We don't know how to do things. We're surrounded by these giant adults who tell us what to do, and that we rely on them to interpret what's happening. And sometimes they're not very good at it. So we're left in a very unsafe position sometimes as children. And we're typically not invited to be powerful enough. One of the main things that I will say about parenting, and I'll do a separate parenting video at some point, is that parents have the job of making their kids feel that it is safe to be powerful. But a lot of times families aren't conveying that. They're conveying something else. As an example, if a young adult, or any adult for that matter, wants to take a job and move away from the family, there can often be resistance to that. Well, I understand why, but at the same time, we would be serving the person better if we let them go the route that makes them feel powerful. It's incredibly important to your health, both mentally and physically, because when you don't feel powerful, this is fuel for a mind-body symptom. Doubt, fear, and power, lack of power that is, are the things that fuel those symptoms. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is, in relation to what I was saying before, you're a moment-to-moment being. And as a result, being powerful is a decision. And it's a decision you have to make every moment. Sometimes it's going to come naturally and it'll start to become kind of automatic once you're used to doing it. But every once in a while, you're going to slip out of power, and you need to recognize it and decide, you know what, I'm going to be powerful. And this is important because it's an incredibly important part of getting better. You have to decide to be powerful if you're going to get better. And that means you have to recognize when you aren't, and you have to know how to do it. So let's first talk about what's going on in the body that power is playing a role. So here's the thing. The body has symptoms for many, many reasons. Sarno talked about bodily symptoms as happening as a distraction against painful emotion. I don't think he's wrong about that, but I also think that that's only one of the functions, and I talk about this all the time. The body symptoms are also a communication between you and yourself. And it's trying to tell you things. From an emotional standpoint, it may be trying to tell you about which theme is getting activated, which theme to pay attention to. From a doubt perspective, it may be talking about, hey, you're doubting this. I need you to recognize that and be more confident and sure about this. But from a power perspective, The body's symptoms are often wanting us to be more powerful. So one of their communications is you're not feeling powerful right now, and you need to get to a place where you are. One of the things that I say often is that the body is the most empathic entity we have. It never is not on our side. And I know it doesn't feel that way when you're having symptoms, but the part of you the part of the symptom that is wanting you to feel more powerful is always on your side. These kinds of symptoms can come up in relation to power at some surprisingly contradictory moments. So first of all, they can come up at moments of not feeling powerful. With the emotions column, they can come up when an emotional theme is activated. With the doubt column, they can come up when doubt is higher. But it can also get activated when you're not feeling powerful. But there's also lots of times where symptoms will come up because you have a chance to be powerful, and that conflict comes up. So there can be all kinds of times where maybe you get a promotion, or you're about to get married, or you're about to have a kid, and then symptoms come up. And I like to help people understand that part of the reason for this is that there is that conflict, and the body is trying to push you towards being powerful in a less conflicted way. Now, as I'm going, I'm always aware that there may be lots of questions and comments about this. And power is the most confusing of the topics that I talk about. It's just a little hard to nail down what it all means. So if you have questions or comments, please put them below. I'll get back to you personally. I'm very interested in these discussions. So I said, though, the body is the most empathic entity we have. The question is, what is it really saying to us about power? And one of the keys that I've found in working with power is to come up with your correct self-narrative. I underline the word correct because we all have a self-narrative. Whether you realize so or not, you have a story that you tell yourself about you. It's a self-story. And a lot of times that self-story is inaccurate, and a lot of times it's unfair. And what we need to do is recognize the false or negative narrative that we have going. And a way to do that, a way to really dial into that, is to recognize that a lot of it relates to ways we don't feel powerful. As an example, for me, and many of you who have watched my other videos know that this is a major part of me. My father died when I was very young, and that led to a sense of invalidity. But I didn't know that. That was unconscious. So I was carrying around a feeling of not being powerful without even realizing it. My conscious narrative was that I'm a guy who can get past these bad things and still succeed. And that sounds positive, doesn't it? And it wasn't even wrong, but it was denying a part of the narrative that actually would have allowed me to feel more powerful. And I'm going to explain a little bit about how I came to see that in a different way. Because what you have to do is you have to replace the false and negative narrative, once you recognize it, with something that is real and also optimistic. I had the optimistic part down. What I didn't have was the fully real part. What I had to realize was I had to accept my trauma more fully. Now, some people bristle at that word, and other people are comforted by that word, trauma. I say many times, trauma can be with a capital T or a lowercase t. A capital T trauma are things that would traumatize anybody. Being raped, or being in a major accident, or having a major physical event that threatened your life, or having an interpersonal betrayal that was of a staggering level. But lowercase trauma really matters too. There can be littler betrayals that really matter, that cut you to the core. So it doesn't matter to me whether it's capital T or lowercase t. You have to accept your trauma, but you especially have to do it about the very central narrative that you have going. So as an example, I had to accept that not having a father at certain points in my life, or really at all in some ways, was traumatic for me. It left me in a place of feeling different than other people, just like many of you have about countless other issues. And I had to accept that. I had to accept that it was true. And I'll tell you, the thing that convinced me it was true, guess what it was? My body. The 8 years of back pain I had, during those 8 years, I didn't process much of this at all. I just felt horrible. And I was stuck there. So it's a very frustrating communication that the body gives, especially when we don't have an interpreter. But now we can be our own interpreters. And now you can listen to these videos and get interpretations from me as well. We need to know what it's saying to us. And what my body was saying to me was, you are more upset by this than you realize, and you deserve to be. And I want to underline that. The body is the one that was empathizing with me. I wasn't empathizing with me. So one thing we need to do is we need to remember that the body does not forget a thing. It's the one that will always remember what happened to you, even if you can't remember, even if things happen in your early childhood. There's a book called The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk, and it's a great book. It covers a lot of the science of the body when it comes to mind-body issues. But I love the title because the body really does keep the score. It remembers everything. What we need to do to be powerful is to take the body at its word. It's sending us a message. We need to receive it. And then we need to make a decision to be powerful. And we need to remember to do that moment by moment by moment because it's going to change. So let me talk a little bit about how power affects the other columns. When we talked about the emotions column, we talked about finding very specific themes, very honed, specific, and broad and big themes that could be kind of buckets to look in to determine what is leading to the onset of a symptom or the uptick in a symptom. Well, when you combine that knowledge with power, you can also understand more about that theme. Okay, that was the theme that was activated, and look what it did. It brought my power down, and by bringing my power down, it made my doubt go up. So these columns affect each other, and they work together. And we can't get it right away, but what I like to do is get people an understanding of the three columns and how they impact each other, because if you're doubting something, your power is going to go way down. If you're having an emotional response that's very, very hard, your power is going to go down. We can use these things to help each column within ourselves to help us along the way of getting relief from symptoms. So let me talk a little bit about how to assume that more powerful persona. You have to, there's certain rules of thumb that I have, but one of them is you have to be in your own corner. You have to know about your relationship with yourself and how important it is. You have to decide, you know what, I'm going to find out about me. I'm worth it. So it's about self-value, which you can't force. But one thing that I wanted to say is when you pay attention to the symptoms and you think about what they're saying and you take the body at its word, an interesting thing happens. You do not have to become powerful to heal. The interesting thing is, by healing, you will become powerful. It's actually the opposite. At the same time, you can use power to heal. So it's there's a little bit of a yin and yang to it. But I think the key to put it out there for you to think about is that power is an element that people don't often think about. And really, at base, it's your relationship with yourself. Your symptoms are going to help you actually find your purpose much more than anything else did. It certainly was true for me. But a lot of times when we're having symptoms, we are out of alignment with ourselves in some ways. This is a way to reconnect by recognizing that power is an issue, by recognizing the ways we're not powerful, by seeing moment to moment that it's a decision to be powerful and to give ourselves permission to do it. So, last thought on this is that you have to be on your own journey. To be powerful, you can't look to other people to make the decisions for what your life needs to be. No one else is going to know what your purpose is. And if you don't know, that's okay, because guess what? Your body will help you find that out. Pay attention to your body and what it's saying about your relationship with you, your relationship with you in relation to others and your symptoms. And you will learn a lot about who you are at your core and how to address these issues. And it will take away the fuel that these symptoms use, because it's trying to do this for a reason. If that reason's taken away, it doesn't have that fuel and it doesn't need to do it anymore. So this is a key point in getting rid of symptoms. But even more so, it's a key point in how the symptoms can lead you to a better life. That's what happened for me, and I look forward to seeing how it will play out for all of you. So again, if you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments and questions below, and I look forward to many conversations with you about it.